Hey everyone, thanks so much for joining us today. My name is Greg Lewis. I'm the marketing manager for MetaStock, and right next to me is our very own Jeffrey Gibby, who will be giving our presentation today. Today, Jeff is going to be talking about our brand new Panoramic System, which was produced by, designed, programmed. Is that the word I'm looking for, Jeff? By our very own
all
Will.
of those will work, yes.
Yep, designed, program, conceived by, thought of, about, by. Anyway, Jeffrey Gibby, as you know, if you've been watching us very long, is our sales director and also director of business development. He is also the poster child for MetaStock software. He's done more presentations on MetaStock, dare I say, than anyone ever in the history of MetaStock. And his record will not be surpassed anytime soon. So with that, Jeff, unless there's anything you think I need to say, I'll get out of your way. Don't forget to do the disclosure.
Do you want to know what's kind of cool, Greg?
What's that?
So this year in March, I'll be 29 years here at MetaStock.
Yes.
So I thought that was cool. Anyway, I'll go ahead and get started.
Oh, also, Jeffrey Gibby is approaching his 29th anniversary here at MetaStock, and I just completed my 20th anniversary here at MetaStock. And this is a good time to mention the average tenure the last time we checked at MetaStock was about 13, 14 years. I expect it's a little higher now, because once you start with MetaStock, you stay with MetaStock because it's a great, great company. Okay, Jeff, having said that, the floor is yours.
Scott, thank you for saying hello. I'm going to work on alliteration and maybe my ability to speak for just a second. We want to say thank you for coming. I hope you're doing well today. I hope you're healthy. I want you to know that if you have any questions, let me know in the chat. My goal today is to kind of go through Panoramic, kind of talk about the indicators that feed into Panoramic, how it works, all that kind of stuff, and just kind of give you a good overview of the Panoramic System. So if you do have questions, every time I look over in this direction, I want to see them. I want you to say hello to me. I want you to make sure you can hear me. If you ever need anything, let me know. So in any case, let me go ahead and before I forget, we'll start with this legal disclaimer. Today's demonstration is designed to instruct you on using MetaStock and the accompanying software plugins. It is not a recommendation to buy or sell, but rather guidelines to interpreting and using specific indicators and features within the software. The information, software, and techniques presented today should only be used by investors who are aware of the risk inherent in trading. MetaStock shall have no liability for any investment decisions based on the use of the software, any trading strategies, or any information provided in connection with the company. Hello, John. I see your hands up. Also, if you have questions, I'll just give me a second. Let me finish up. MetaStock and its employees do not endorse the purchase of a security, nor are they paid for the promotion of a security. No information contained in the presentation today should be construed as investment advice or the solicitation to buy a security. So I did realize as I was kind of talking that I had the wrong chat open for GoToWebinar. Let me go ahead and open up the questions panel. If you do have questions, all you have to do is there's a little questions box in GoToWebinar. Just click on that and you can go ahead and type in a question. So, and Greg says, I'm very good at answering questions. I do try and at least give an answer or acknowledge a question when it comes in. If you're watching this on YouTube, hi. Thanks for joining us on YouTube. If you do help, it does help a great deal if you like and subscribe to the video. I'd encourage you to like it if you like it. So, yeah, also, if you have questions, just type them in the chat. I'll be watching them there too. Okay. I want to talk a little bit about what the Panoramic System is, where it comes from, who it's designed by, that kind of stuff. First of all, I want to talk a little bit about who designed it. William Goolson, as Greg said in the introduction, is the person that developed it. William is such a smart programmer and has been working with us for a number of years. I don't know exactly what that is. As I was kind of getting ready to kind of talk a little bit about William, I wanted to ask him kind of exactly how many add-ons and how many projects and how many systems that he has coded for MetaStock. And it was kind of funny. I asked him that question. He's like, I don't know. Like it's just, I don't think he even wanted to count of like the amount of projects, the amount of systems, the amount of indicators, the amount of design that he's done over the years. It's just been prolific. He's been here at MetaStock, I think, for about as long as I have been. And he's just really, really good. I remember that we've been in some very, very meetings where it's very technical. We're talking about kind of how to create this exact pattern with a partner, and I'm just like, it's over my head completely. And William's like, okay, yeah, I think the code that you're looking at, and he just looks at the ceiling for a minute and kind of pulls some really good code. So he's got a lot of experience in creating systems, and he knows what kind of makes a really good system. And this is the first one that he's created that's his own system. Okay, so I think I've talked enough about William. I have only respect for William. He does a great job. And I would say that due to the programming work that he's done, it's made MetaStock a more successful company. And that objectively, there's no argument about that. Okay. In terms of Panoramic, what I'm going to if I wanted to kind of describe what the Panoramic system is, I would say it's very much a trend following system. And I think that's cool because I'm a trend follower. I like to find stocks that are in a good established trend. The trend's your friend, befriend the trend, whatever, all that kind of like cliche stuff. The thing where people kind of get a little bit trapped in traditional trend following systems is in the whipsaw, when stocks become congested. They're not moving very fast up and down, all of that kind of stuff. And I would say that the Panoramic system does a fairly good job of kind of giving you ideas of where things are in congestion, where they're not in congestion. I want to add this right now because we need it in just a second. If there are specific stocks that you would like to look at today with Panoramic System, type the symbol in the chat, type it in the questions box. I'm more than happy to kind of look at some stocks that you're interested in, and we can kind of see how they've performed on whatever stocks. I've got some big winners this year that I've kind of prepared to talk about, like Micron. We can look at it on Micron. Obviously, gold and silver, everything metals, most everything energy has been doing great this year. And so I'm going to kind of show some of those examples, and I guess GM for Greg and whatever you want to have to say. So I think that kind of covers what it is. I do like the fact that it does trend analysis. And I do think it's pretty creative the way William actually kind of designed it to kind of stay, to kind of warn about when, not necessarily stay out of a trade when things are congested, but give you a warning when things are congested. And so the combination of a trend system with kind of congestions and looking for kind of stocks to be exiting a phase of congestion is pretty unique. I think this will help you stay disciplined. And it's going to give you, it's going to simplify things and make things kind of structured for you. Okay. And most of the things that we're going to talk about today are not going to be in PowerPoint. We're just going to play with it. It's a software demo. We're going to treat it as. So, reason I like it, it allows you to see trends from multiple angles. It allows you to see where those compression points are when you're getting out of those compression and those congestions areas, and see the breakouts. Gives you really good actionable buy and sell suggestions. And the commentary, one of the things that William is really, really proud of this with this particular product is how well the commentary is actually put together and structured. So let's go here. I kind of have a blank slide on here on purpose. This is exactly what I wanted to go in and look at a couple of stocks. So let's go ahead and kind of take we'll just look at a chart. Scott, I think it's funny that you said MU because that's actually the example I've got loaded here. So we're going to go ahead and start with that, and we'll look at a GM too. We'll look at AU too, and if you have other stocks, we'll look at those too. So I want to kind of just talk a little bit about all of the indicators that are included first. I want to talk a little bit about how they're read, how you use them, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. We're going to start with the top pane here. And here we've got about 4 different lines that are being drawn. And I'm going to kind of just make this a little bit bigger. And I'm going to kind of zoom in just a little bit more so we can talk about what they're looking at. Okay. These are, all 3 of these indicators are trend indicators. Okay. And they're a proprietary blend of trend indicators that Williams created to look at the long-term trend, the medium-term trend, and the short-term trend. Okay. And if we start to kind of look at it from a perspective of here, the black line is the long-term trend right here. The blue line is the medium-term trend, and then this red line is the short-term trend. Okay. Now, there is also a signal line. You can kind of see it here. It's a little bit of a green line on the short-term trend. Okay. One of the things that kind of is kind of important, I think, to mention is while the short-term trend is actually drawn on the chart and it's there for visual purposes, it doesn't come into play when it comes to the signaling mechanisms of this. So there's a lot of things that are in here that you can visually look at that'll kind of talk a little bit about what's going on. But with the short-term trend, it doesn't kind of feed into the actual signals. It's more for a visual idea of what's going on along the short-term trend. Okay, you can interpret these indicators a lot like you might do a MACD or like any type of a trend indicator. And very simply, just to kind of break it up, if they're above the zero line, like with MU's obviously been taking off, it's been doing huge. If your black line's above the zero line, which is right here, that's going to mean that you're in a bullish long-term trend. Same with the medium-term trend, which is the blue line. If it's above zero, it's actually going to indicate that your medium-term trend is bullish. And then your short-term trend, which is a lot more reactive. If it's above zero, your short-term trend is bullish. If it's down below zero, your short-term trend is bearish. Okay, so it's very, very simple to read. And then also you do have a little bit of a signal, like a MACD type signal line here, which just kind of gives you a moving average of the short-term trend. Okay. Now, when William did some training, but when he was designing this and developing this, he's like, I wanted people to see what the short-term trend was doing. But as I was kind of playing with the indicators and putting them together, the medium and long-term trend give me much cleaner signals that I like to see. Okay, and the way that the buy and sell conditions are actually drawn on the chart is you'll see them right here. When your medium-term trend comes down below your short-term trend, you'll get a bit of a sell arrow. If it comes back above it, you'll get a little bit of a buy arrow. Okay, and it's that simple. Okay, it's just looking at Rahul called it a change of momentum or a shift of momentum. It's looking for the long-term trend to start to get stronger and then stronger than the medium-term trend. And that'll fire off your buy signal that you saw back here. Okay, so that covers the indicators and the buy and sell signals in the top panel and how they're used. And those are going to kind of be the main guts of the system. They're looking at the trend. They're giving you the buy and sell signals. Okay, now, as part of those signals, William has a lot of what he calls supporting factors, okay? And what I want to do, I'm going to probably kind of actually show off the expert advisor commentary just a little bit here. I think as I kind of go through and talk a little bit about how the momentum readings are done, is very, very helpful for me to remember what's going on by having the commentary open, because I think the commentary just does a really good job of spelling everything out for you. We were doing a little bit of research and actually product research, some competitive analysis. One of the things that actually the AI agent I was using that was helping me kind of pull some data together said about MetaStock was our commentary was the crowning jewel, which I thought was kind of cool of MetaStock because there's just nothing like it. So let me open, and William, one of the things that I said this a little bit earlier, one of the things that he wrote particularly well was the commentary. He's very, very proud of how well the commentary is put together. So I'm going to just go ahead and pop that open. I'm going to open up the expert commentary. And instead of having it kind of in a flyout mode, I'm going to kind of just change it so that it's always over here because we're going to talk a little bit about some things. I'm going to refer to my notes just so I don't get things wrong, as well as we kind of go through it. Okay. When we started, I said, okay, there's a lot of stuff that involves the trend. There's also stuff that he calls factors that will help you avoid congested areas and help you understand where congestion is. Okay. Now, specifically, he will give you congestion warnings. And what I want to do is I want to pop it over here to this area here. I want to talk about how those congestion warnings work. Okay. You'll see right here, as soon as I kind of look at this buy signal, if we were looking at Micron back here, this would have been a very good time to buy Micron, but we are in a bit of a congestion zone. If we come down here, I'm going to skip the long, well, no, I'm not. I'm not going to skip the long entries and that kind of stuff. I'm going to talk about those first, and then I'm going to talk about why we're getting congestion warnings and what those mean on the chart. Okay, so first of all, if we kind of look at here, again, we can run a scan. If we ran a scan for the thing, for the buy signals, this and Micron would have come up back on 11/24, November 24th, right before Thanksgiving 2025. And if you would have bought then, you would have been totally happy. It's gone up. Almost, that looks like it's gone up from 230 up to like 440 today. So come back down a little bit today, but that's neither here nor there. So if we ran the long signal there, it said the panoramic indicator detected a potential buy opportunity for MU. The price action suggests a change to the long-term bullish state. Check the congestion warnings before entering a trade. The recommended target entry price for this is one tick above 226.11, and the initial stop is 192.59, which is drawn on the chart here for you. So he's giving you an initial entry price that you should look for. He wants you to break the high of the bar. Once it does that, you can enter, and he's giving you a stop that updates until right here, okay, when it's penetrated. Let me take a sip of my coffee. He'll go in, and also after that, you can see we're just going to work our way down here through the commentary. He'll give what he considers his supporting factors. Okay, these are factors that leak credence to the thing. The first thing he's looking at is high volume. The change in trend is supported by higher than average volume. The decrease in volume from the prior bar is a concern, but it does not negate the market support. Okay, so if we look at the volume, you've got volume that's color-coded based on if it's up volume or down volume for the day. Here we've got a red bar. And then also in addition to that, he's got a moving average, 40-period simple moving average above the volume. And anything above that is going to be greater than average volume because that's what it's looking at, right? The average, okay? So we do have a buy signal. And he's saying a couple of things about that buy signal. It's supported by volume because we're above the average. However, the volume did go down a little bit from the previous day, okay? However, that does not negate that that's a supporting factor. So that we can put a +1 in the column for that, okay? We also had a big white candle. That means from a perspective of just candlestick analysis, if we have a big white candle, psychologically, that tells us the bears are not in charge, the bulls are running this price up. Very, very simple. It's a supporting factor. It's drawn out for us in right here in the actual commentary itself. Okay, I moved it. Let me get back exactly to the day that I want to talk about. Now, there are some warning factors. Okay, the warning factors have to do with congestion. This is what we're kind of talking about with it. If I come down a little bit, I can kind of go through exactly what those warning factors look like. Okay, so if we look at the long-term trend, we're in a bit of a cautionary phase. I wonder what that means. Well, let's find out in a second, right? Whenever Greg types something, it pops it up on my thing, and I get a chance to read it. And so if I get distracted, I'll blame Greg. You have a Bollinger Band caution, a Keltner Band channel caution, and a volume caution on this day. Okay, so even though volume was supported, there's still a little bit of a caution. This will break down what it's looking for. Okay, and you probably can see on the chart we've got Keltner Channels, we've got Bollinger Bands. The Bollinger Bands, it's one standard deviation. The Keltner Channels are tight. The reason they're tight is to kind of just help us identify when things are very congested. At the core, this is a trend following system. What we want it to do is just kind of identify where the areas are congested. Okay, so it's not a two standard deviation. The bands are actually fairly narrow. In this particular reason, the reason that we're getting a long-term caution, and you can just read along with me, is the panoramic indicator considers MU to be in a weak bullish long-term trend. Weak trends are more likely to change direction than strong-term trends. Okay, and if we kind of look right here, what the histogram is doing, like it's not very high. It certainly goes a lot higher as this starts to take off. It's not very high, and I think that's what it's reading for that particular caution. It's giving us a caution on our Bollinger Bands. The reason that we're getting a caution on our Bollinger Bands is the current price bar closed inside of a tight Bollinger Bands. This condition is unexceptional with standard Bollinger Bands. However, with tight bands, it means the price are constrained by a smaller volatility window. So again, saying it's within these really narrow bands, those bands are narrow on purpose, and it's just telling us that we might be in a congestion area. And I would argue it right here, we are pretty congested until we get up above them, right? So I would say it's logical. It makes sense. Okay. The Keltner channel, one or both of the tight Bollinger Band lines are inside the Keltner channel. So if we, let me get close. I'm just going to zoom in right here so we can kind of really see what we're talking about. You can see both of the Keltner channels are inside those Bollinger Bands. And that just means that doesn't generally happen in strong trends. It can happen in strong trends. It typically suggests it's in a consolidation phase. Okay, so it's giving us a warning. We do have a trend alert that this thing might be getting bullish, but we're also in a congestion area. And and I like the way that it kind of writes that up. It kind of puts it together. It also gives us a volume caution. The volume is currently less. So we were talking about this earlier. We have a big bar here. It's a smaller bar today on our buy signal is currently less than that of the previous bar. The decrease warrants of less support for the price movement of the current bar. Okay. And as we stated before, it's above average volume. So it's still above average volume, but it's decreased from the day before. Okay. I think that's about kind of like the rest of it kind of talks a little bit about kind of like what the system is, what it's looking to do, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But that's how it's kind of looking at, you've got your proprietary blend of trend indicators here. You're getting a buy signal, but there's kind of a lot of warnings that are coming through that says, hey, prices are in the bands. The bands are in the Keltner channel. We might be in an area of congestion. And I would agree with that. If we're kind of looking at this in the chart, we kind of stay in that congested area up until we break out here. It comes back into bands and does a final breakout here. Okay. All right. Now, in terms of the congestion warnings, we did a pretty good job of talking about that. The long-term trend can be either weak or cautionary or okay. Those are the readings you're going to get out of that. Okay. The Bollinger Bands, you're going to kind of get some readings, and we'll kind of see some examples of this as we kind of look at other charts and look at what other charts are doing. But you can have a caution, which is what we have here. That means that prices are completely inside the tight bands. You have extreme caution, which means the prices are completely in the bands and the bandwidth is really narrow. He's looking at that well too. You can have a strong positive where which means that the bands are, your buy signal is here and you're outside of the bands completely. That would give you a strong positive, or a neutral, which just means none of those conditions apply. So that's the long-term, the Bollinger Band cautions that you can get. Okay. When it comes to Keltner channel, there's three criteria there. There's three different things that could be fed into that. The first one is a caution. One or both of the Bollinger Bands are inside the Keltner channel. You can get a strong positive where the prices are completely outside of the channel, and a neutral where nothing applies. Okay, and so we talked about that. With your volume, there are some different warnings that you can get around that, and I'm just going to cover those from my notes. I didn't want to get things wrong, so actually I'm picking William's notes right here. But with the volume, you can have extreme caution, which means you have below average shrinking volume over the last 2 hours, which would mean something like right here, right? You can have caution, the below average volume. You have strong, the volume is double the average. So all of those conditions will be updated every day as long as you're in the trade, as well as your stop loss will be updated every day. Okay, so right here, you have this initial stop loss that's drawn on the chart. Let's say we did run this as an exploration and it came up as a trade that we could take today. It's so simple to kind of go through and kind of understand what's going on. Okay, let's just check in what we're getting right here. We've got, oh, I forgot to mention the color coding of the bars too as well. Color coding of the bars, there's 4 different colors that the colors of the bars can be. Okay, right here, you have a bit of a blue bar. You can kind of see where these bars are blue right here. That identifies that you're in a slight bull trend. Okay, not a big bull trend, but a slight bull trend. Things are kind of moving positive, but they're kind of a little bit of a cautionary bullish trend. Okay, when they start to get into kind of a really big bull trend, you'll start to see the green bars, and that just means that you're in a big bull trend. Okay, the other colors that it can be, let me kind of scroll back so we can find some, because this has been bullish for a long time. You can also have, let me just grab here and zoom in. You also have a bit of a fuchsia. Let me find my zoom tool. I only ever used MetaStock for a number of years. You have this little bit of a purple color. That means that you're in a moderately bearish trend, a cautionary bearish trend. And then when it's full on red, it means you're in a bear trend. Okay. So those are kind of the highlights. I forgot to mention them. We'll step back and talk about them. Scott wants to say, we will. Scott wants me to give the expert advisor for today's date. And I do want to show how useful the commentary can be as we go. So I'm going to show it for the current date. Absolutely. So, but first I'm going to talk about right here, all of these kind of statistics and things update every day. So if you did take this long position, or maybe you're waiting for it to kind of break out of the bands for the momentums to start playing, all of this will update. So if I'm kind of looking right here, we're still all the way in the bands. We're in a weak bullish trend. It's still going to give us these warnings. We're inside both of the channels, and we still have all of those cautions. So we might kind of be holding on. I personally don't like to buy stuff when it's congested, right? This gives us a really good guideline to see when things aren't congested. Okay, we want them to be moving. I'm a big fan of Vince Vora. Vince Vora likes to find stocks that are breaking out to new all-time highs, or that are moving, right? Like that are kind of setting new highs time after time after time after time. Okay, those trends can last a really long time. When you start to get to the point where you're in a really good trend, you don't have a lot of overhead resistance, especially when you're making new all-time highs. I just love it. Okay, so right here it is still giving us those caution warnings. You still kind of see here. Here we kind of pop out a little bit. You can kind of see it to a strong trend. So I'm kind of interested to see what that looks like. Okay. In this particular case, our long-term trend is okay. We have our strong bullish pattern. Keltners are a strong bullish pattern. You don't have to remember this. You don't have to remember what I just read you, because if I come down here, it's going to say that a strong bull is the price is completely above the Bollinger Bands. Even with tight bands, this condition strongly supports bullish signals. It basically spells everything out for you. We're in a strong bull pattern because the price bar is completely above the Keltner channel. It's telling you exactly why it's kind of coming to the decision that it's doing after it tells you the decision it's doing, or the judgment that it's making. Okay. In terms of the volume of the current bar is less than average. And so it's kind of giving you a caution still on that. Okay. Here we do pull back into the bands. We do break up a trailing stop. If you decided you wanted to kind of break it by again because it's kind of breaking out of the bands here, William still updates all of this kind of information on a day-by-day basis. Okay, so even though we've hit the stop loss and we've closed down below the stop loss, if you decide you still want to trade, or you want to still stay in the trade, it will stop giving you the trailing stop loss, but it's still going to kind of give you updates in terms of what we're doing. In this case, you're getting a trend warning caution, a Bollinger Band caution. You're okay with the Keltner channel, and you're strong. Now, if I wait one more day, we'll just go to the very next bar. I was going to say you're in an open long position. Your long-term trend is okay. Your Bollinger Bands are okay. You're in a strong bullish Keltner channel. And again, you can kind of just come down and see what that means right here in the commentary. And the volume is still giving you cautionary, because right here, the volume is actually significantly decreased than the day before, even though this is an update. Okay. So any day you can kind of click on and kind of see what's going on. It'll kind of keep track of things and keep an inventory of things. And Scott, for today, if we're just looking at Micron today, we have a bit of a volume caution. You can see that right here, volume caution. Your long-term trend is great. It's really on fire. You're in a strong bullish trend. You're in a strong Keltner channel trend. It's very, very bullish and optimistic today. Doesn't mean we haven't seen a top on Micron. Doesn't mean we're not going to see a leveling off and that kind of stuff. But if we're looking at it today, we're holding a long position. If we bought back here and are holding a long position, or bought it when it broke out of the Keltner channels, we're very, very happy. It's moved in either case, right? So that's how we can kind of pay attention and use it. Well, Ton, it's good to see you. Thanks for saying hi. All right, if you have any questions, let me know in the questions box or in the chat. I think that does a pretty good job of kind of giving you an overview. Wow, and it didn't take very long either. It's very straightforward. The simplest systems can be very, very straightforward, right? So there you go. There's the commentary for today. Long-term, we're okay. Strong bull caution. Okay. All right, what were some of the other symbols that you wanted, guys, were asking for? Scott wanted to look at AU. See if we can. Okay. AU, we've kind of pulled. AU's been in a pretty decent uptrend. Let's kind of zoom in on what we're looking at today. We would have got a buy signal here if you kind of just look at where we're at here. If we would have waited for it to kind of start to break out of those bands, we would have bought right about here. And you can kind of play with it to see what you like the most, okay? If we would have bought here on the initial buy signal, again, the buy signal is because you're starting to get longer term bullishness than medium term bullishness. We're obviously going to run a scan to find these, right? And so this would have come up on a scan. We could pull open the chart and see what was happening. In this case, we had a long entry signal. It gives us that initial recommended target price, which we would have hit the very next day. And then our initial stop, which is this particular line here, which we do come down and test. Okay. And close. Well, I wouldn't say test. We violate that stop right here. Okay. If we're looking at it, though, from our long-term trend, we get caution. We get from our Bollinger Bands, we get caution. Our Keltner Bands are actually okay, and we get extreme caution on volume, which means we, on this particular day, we're above the average or below the average. So that's why we're getting that caution. And the last two bars have been below average, and the current bar has less volume than the previous bar. Again, it just spells out what it's looking at, what it's kind of picking about, and that kind of stuff. If we wait till the next day, some of those trend warnings are going away. If we wait till the following day, we could have bought out on the completely being out of the bull. But it's just going to kind of keep an eye on those things for it. It's going to give us that status update every day. Okay. We're looking at it today. Obviously, we have a big red bar today. Markets are kind of grumpy on today. But again, here our implied trend is bullish. We're getting more. Our Bollinger Bands were caution because we're inside the bands now. Our Keltner channel is still strong bull, and our volume is still okay. So I'd say AU looks pretty good. Like anytime you can buy here or even here and still be holding on to it, you're going to be pretty okay. I have some chats. Okay. I haven't looked at GLW for a minute, but that's a good one. Let's go ahead and take a look at that for you, Patuan. Okay, if we're looking at Intel, we did have a little bit of a sell signal as we kind of broke the lower band. Okay, I'm just looking at the most current signals. We had a little bit of a sell signal. We broke the band, kind of reversed and gave us a buy signal, which would be an immediate reason to get out. Okay, here we've kind of, we got this buy signal. Again, you could decide to buy it here. If we're looking at it here, we're going to have warnings, right? Because we're in the channels. Our long-term trend isn't very well established just yet. So you're getting caution, 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 extreme caution. And again, that spells out why. If we wait till the next day, my anticipation is some of those cautions will go away. Our Bollinger Bands is okay because we closed above it. And if we waited another day for it to completely trade out of the bands, some of those things are going to start to go away. So you can generally buy when it comes out of the Keltner channels and the Keltner band. You can buy back here. Again, it's just kind of advising you in terms of what it sees. Our last signal on GLW would have been right here at about 94. Right now, it's about 104. So I'm going to say with just rough math, if it's $100 and a 10-point move, it's 10%, right? It's a little bit more than that because it was 90 to 104, but I'm not pulling together math like that real quick. So if we're looking at it right now, our long-term trend is okay. We're above our channels right now, even though we've kind of sold off. We're strong bullish on our Bollinger Bands. I think we are getting a bit of a cautionary volume warning, which will probably go away by the end of the day, right? Because like right now, it's noon Eastern. The markets are going to be open for another couple hours. We're going to get more volume. We don't have a complete volume count yet. Okay, so In terms of if you're looking at this right now, it's bullish, and it would have given you a buy signal back here, and everything else would have started to give you green lights right here or here. So there you go. You're welcome. I'm here to help. I'm happy to look at anything you want to. Greg wanted to look at INTC. Again, it would be really easy for me to find, the stocks that have just gone up. Those are going to all perform well with a trend following system, right? This does work better when the trend is in your favor, right? But the thing I like it, and I think makes it unique to this one, is kind of the way that it helps you avoid those congestion areas and wait until you're past those congestion areas. So let me go ahead and look at Intel for Greg. And I think there are some more. So we'll go up a little bit in the chat. If you have more, go ahead and look at it. If we're looking at Intel right now, let me kind of we did have a bit of a buy signal here, kind of came back in here to a congestion zone, popped up. You can kind of see, we didn't even stop out while it was in this congestion area. It just kind of kept moving and moving until we got this sell signal here. So, and then that sell signal would have been pretty short-lived, right? If we look at the last trade that was generated on here, would have been right here. Again, you're in the, how easy is this to read? You're in the channels. It's very, very visible. I don't even have to look at it right now, but if I do, it's going to tell us that we have a long-term correction because the trend isn't very well established. Sounds familiar, right? The Bollinger Bands are giving us a caution because we're inside them. The Keltner Bands are giving us a caution, but the volume is okay because it's above average, more than it was yesterday on the signal, okay? And as we get to kind of this part here, a lot of those cautions will go away. We did have a kind of a bounce back into the trade. We would have hit our trailing stop right here, but after it gapped down, of course, that's the way it works sometimes, right? So we could have chosen to get out of that trade here. And that's how it would have worked on Intel. Okay, MUAU. I thought there was one more chart request. GM. It was from Scott. It was from not Scott. It was from Greg. Oh, I didn't get the right stock. Let's go ahead and kind of correct that real quick. Okay, it helps if I push the button to go. Another good example. GM, I did have some trades on a little bit earlier, and then we kind of got contested. Here we had a bit of a sell signal. It did break out, so we would have bought this. We would have probably either gained a very little bit of money on this or lost a little bit of money, but it was starting to kind of erode here, and it would have given us a signal. And if we did look at it, it was strong bearish, extreme caution. That's why we use stop losses, and that's why we get out of a trade. However, we did go bullish here. We got a buy signal here. That's a clear signal to go ahead and get out of the trade. You're not every trade's going to work well. We did have some caution, okay. But as soon as we started to kind of break out of the channel, again, those cautions are going to go away. So right here, you can see everything's kind of giving us a clear red. Okay. And you can kind of decide, okay, well, I'm getting a signal here, but I'm going to wait until it gets out of the congestion area. I wouldn't say that's a terrible strategy. Play with it, make it your own, right? Okay. In this particular case, we did penetrate our stop loss. You could have gotten out on that stop loss or decided to buy back in when it penetrated up above again. Even on General Motors, it looks pretty good, I'd say. So that's kind of how it works. I think that's a really good demonstration of how it works, both in terms of kind of giving you the advice. I think that's very clear in terms of, hopefully it's clear, of how the trend indicators combined with the volume indicators, combined with the congestion indicators, give you a clear idea of what's going on. And I would say that William did a really, really good job of the commentary, kind of keeping everything. He was really, really proud of it. I recorded a demo right before Christmas, right before the break. And he was like, you really should have spent more time on the commentary. So if he watches the recording, we spent a lot of time on the commentary here. Of course, it does do scanning as well. There's a number of scans that are in here, and I've pre-ran them just so I can show you them. I want to talk a little bit about what the scans are looking for. Okay, so let's go ahead and open them up. I've already searched for Panoramic here, and there's basically 3 scans. I've ran 2 of them, so I can kind of walk you through them. There's the Panoramic buy signal. Obviously, what that's going to do is it's going to find any stocks that have a buy signal. There's a sell signal. That's going to give you any stocks that have a sell signal. And there's a trend overview. And it's kind of interesting, kind of the way that he put this together. With this one, you could leave the filter off and see kind of how use it as maybe a broad market. You could run it against like the broad market, like the S&P 500, and see how many were bullish versus bearish. Without the filter, it'll just report everything back and the status of everything on a list that you wanted to scan. If you do put the filter on, it'll show instruments in a strong trend, either bullish or bearish with above average volume. So there's a couple of use cases for this strong trend one. And I left the filter off, but I want to talk you through exactly kind of how that might work. On a regular basis, you could say, okay, well, I want to scan all of the optional stocks, but I only want to look at the ones that are in a strong bullish trend or a strong bearish trend. And in that case, you just run the scan with the filter on. You make a list of all the stocks that were either really bullish or really bearish, and you could use those to kind of look at on a daily basis, or you could scan that list for buy signals. That's a very, very good use case. Because again, as a trader, what I want to do is be able to focus on the stocks that aren't just bullish. I want them to be extremely bullish, right? I want them to be in an established uptrend. Okay. Same thing. I don't do a lot of shorting in the trading that I do, but like if I did, I'd want them to be in a very established short-term trend. And so the trend overview can be handy to kind of give you an idea of what's going on in a specific market like the S&P 500, but it also could be extremely helpful in terms of you to build a watch list of stocks that are in an extreme trend. Okay, and I think that makes sense. Okay, I ran it without the filter. We'll look at that report first, and in this case, I'd ran the S&P 500, the Dow, the Nasdaq. Okay, the Nasdaq 100. So there's about 520 stocks or so in there. Out of those ones, today only 2, Meta Platform and Royal Caribbean, were extremely bullish. You had these ones that were bearish. When you could just save these off if you're on a huge scan, you could save those off and take a look at each of them if you wanted to, whatever. Okay. Here it says if it's strong, these will all be strong because with the filter on, it's only going to look for strong trends. None of them will be weak, and it gives you the close and the volume. Okay, very, very simple. The other one will look for buy and sell signals on a given day, and I ran that against the same list, and I'm going to go ahead and open it up and kind of show you how to read those reports as well. So let me go ahead and, again, I just ran the same list. You can kind of still see them selected down here. We had the S&P 500, the Nasdaq, and the Dow. Okay, they're very easy to run those. You can run them over whatever you want. I'll just look at the report because I've got it ready to go. Okay, out of the 526 stocks, the 516 stocks that were in those categories, S&P 500, Nasdaq 100, Dow 30, 503 of them were rejected. And we had 13 results that had a buy or a sell signal for today. This gives you your entry. Oh, no, just a buy signal. My mistake. Because there's another one that you run if you want to do shorts. This is the buy signal, not the short signal. Okay. So these are all giving buys. You can see exactly what the entry price here is. You can see the stop, and you can see the number of supporting factors that support this buy signal. So if I wanted to see all of the ones that had the supporting factors, I can sort them by this one, ATT, IBM. If I just want to focus on the ones that have the best support, I can open up these. And let's go ahead and look at it. I'm going to go ahead and open up ATT. If it's supported by trend, volume, I'm not sure what candle is actually. Channel, it kind of breaks all that as well. I think the candle is what we were kind of talking about earlier, where if it's a big white candle, that just basically means the bulls are still in charge. That makes sense to me. Okay. I did open up AT&T without the proper thing. So I'm going to go ahead and apply the template for Panoramic. We'll go ahead and click on apply right here so we can get all the indicators on it. Here you can see where we've been in the channel. We generated a buy signal. Now it's come a little bit off of its high. right now, and it might not even have been it might have been a buy signal an hour ago when I ran the scan. It might not be right now because I'm not seeing a buy arrow here. Okay, but let's look at the commentary. I'm going to go ahead and open up the commentary again. View expert commentary. We can kind of see exactly what this looks like for today. Yeah, actually, I should have run the scan a little bit closer to when I ran the webinar because it was giving a buy signal when it was up here. It's no longer a buy signal. So in terms of this, it's also come way off of its high. If the bulls start to run this up, you'll probably get another buy signal, but that cross that would fire off the buy signal is really close. That's why we got a buy signal earlier that we're not getting right now. Okay, so there you go. Actually, the next one though, let's see if that the same. And a lot of things kind of started strong today. Bunch of gaps in the market, and they sold off a little bit. This one is still giving us a long entry signal. This is IBM. You can see it popped up above the thing. Here it's giving us a long entry signal. We did have the cross. We do have supporting factors. Remember, it was looking at two supporting factors. You have high volume. And the market's not even closed today, but we have high volume. We also have a channel breakout. We broke up. We had a doji followed by a gap up. It sold out a little bit. It looks like a lot of stocks that are in my portfolio today. But you have a caution, strong bullish, because it's outside the Bollinger Band candles, the Keltner Channels. You have a bit of a volume caution, which I think will probably go away based on kind of the fact that we don't have a complete volume reading. So there you go. That's in a nutshell what it is. It's a very, very cool system. I'm going to go back in here to my slide deck and we'll kind of just wrap up. Yeah, okay. Just because you asked, Scott, you wanted to kind of see what the trend report looks like. Let me go ahead and kind of just close this out. And I think I'm going to show you what we want to see, Scott, but like, I don't know. if I'm off base, let me know. Okay, I think you wanted to look what the trend overview looked. Now, I did run this with the filter on. You can see the filter is still selected. So when I look at the report for it, what I'll see is stocks that are in a bullish zone and strong. You also have stocks that are in a bearish zone, but they're all strong. The big difference is if you leave that filter on, it's looking for the stocks that are in a strong trend. So if I'd ran this up against like 5,000 stocks and I wanted to find the ones that were in a strong trend, I could just save this list off of the ones that are in a strong trend. Like, or if they're in a strong bearish trend, like these ones are in a strong bearish trend, we could just kind of add those to a bearish list as well. So I think I already showed that, but you might have asked before I looked at the questions. So either way, I hope that's what you wanted to see. Anyway, if you guys have more questions, let me know. Go to webinar. You've been very quiet. So, oh wait, am I in the wrong place to see questions? Oh no, Greg's chatted a few things.
I don't see any questions, Jeff.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, let's wrap up then. We go back over here. Okay. Let's get off of the blank side. Hopefully that's a good overview. Included in the panoramic system, you get 3 indicators, 3 unique indicators, and then you get the special setups for the Bollinger Bands and the Keltner Channels, the volume. You do get the chart layout as well. You do get the 3 custom trend indicators. You get 3 explorations. I showed those to you. The expert advisor is included, which basically kind of, we spent a lot of time talking about how that can kind of help you understand what's going on in the trade. You get the template. All of that's kind of built into kind of the package. We talked about this. I'm going to kind of skip over this. This one talks a little bit about the congestion, how those work, how the stop losses appear on the chart automatically. We talked a lot about the commentary, and you know, but to kind of reiterate what's included there, you get your dashboard view of the indicators. It tells you what the trend is doing. It tells you what the status of the signals are, the stop loss value. There's not a target price. I need to take that off of the side. Congestion warnings, those are all kind of actually put in there as well. And the scans, we talked about how those can. I love scanning in MetaStock because you can scan any market that you want. You can scan it right now, which you should use with caution just in case you get a signal. It might not be the same signal by the end of the day as we saw with AT&T, but I can see what stocks are breaking at any time during the day with any version of MetaStock, and I can run it against any list that I want. It's just not the US market. It's just not the stocks that they think are important or that some of these are important. I can run it against anything that I want to. So the thing that we've heard about from our customers that have been using this is they like how simplified it is, the clarity that provides. I really think that William did a really good job of avoiding whipsaw. You know, trend following is great, right? Like how many people have made just fortunes trend following. But with any trend following systems, when do you kind of step to the side because it's getting sideways and whipsaw? That's an Achilles heel of a lot of trend following systems. Is sometimes the stock's just not moving. Sometimes you're just congested. How do you get out of there? So, and you know, it gives you the trailing stop, which is always important. So if you want to get the Panoramic System, it's a one-time cost. You pay for it, you own it. You don't have to pay for it every month. It's $399. But as part of the introductory price, this expires tomorrow. The end of the month is tomorrow. Well, the end of the month, it's $147 through tomorrow. Okay, you get a money back guarantee with it. So if you try it, it's going to be helpful for you. If you don't like it, you can get a refund. It's very, very inexpensively charged cost. And if you don't have it, MetaStock, we've talked a lot about the engine that's available to kind of give you all of that expert commentary and feedback, the scanning engine. MetaStock itself's been rated the best software in its price category, and it's won that rating 32 years in a row. If you don't have it and you like what you saw at the event today, the software demo today, I'll throw in a free trial, a free trial. I'll try and losing my ability to speak again. Well, I'll throw in a free trial though. I use MetaStock every day. I love scanning. I love the ability to kind of go in and just ignore the noise and focus on the stocks that have an opportunity. So $147. If you like it, keep it. If it helps you find good trades, you'll probably pay for itself right away. What a great risk reward, right? $147, 30-day money back guarantee. Give us a call, 800-882-3040 or metastock.com/saleschat. So I want to say thank you for watching the event today. I hope it was helpful for you. If you already own Panoramic, I hope it was kind of help give you a little bit of insight in what's going on, or some ideas. If you like the event, make sure to like it. Subscribe to the channel on YouTube, if you will. That does help us a great deal. We really appreciate it. If there's anything I can do, let me know. The phone number for the very last time, 800-882-3040 or metastock.com/saleschat. Thank you for being part of thank you for watching. Stay healthy, stay well. I'll see you at the next one. Thank you.